and so on. I don't see the other person. Zimbabwe has a constitution. Zimbabwe has a constitution that was adopted in 2018. This constitution was voted for by 93% of the people of Zimbabwe. And in that constitution, it is very clear that there are term limits for the office of president. And it provides that you cannot change those terms as you then, in order for President Mnangagwa to be able to run again, 2/3 of Parliament must have voted to amend Section 328. And in that section, there are two sections. The first one. Sorry. Let me remove that. And just say simply that if you want to amend to a term limit, you have to go for referendum, a yes/no referendum. And even if the referendum succeeds, the extension shall not benefit the incumbent. In this particular instance, you will have to conduct two referendums. The first referendum will be a referendum that allows for an extension of term, of a presidential term, without specifically mentioning which person it is referring to. So that referendum will have to be held separately. The referendum to amend the term limit clause. That's number one. Number two, there is even the Constitution says even if the referendum succeeds, the incumbent shall not benefit from the extension. Therefore, if President Mnangagwa wants to benefit from the extension after the first referendum, there has to be another sitting of Parliament, attainment of 2/3 majority. The Speaker has to gazette the constitutional amendment for 90 days, and another referendum specifically allowing President stand trying to extend the term of office of the sitting president, especially the current sitting president. It is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and it is very, very difficult to do if people don't use force. So you have to go to a referendum, a yes/no referendum. You have to achieve a majority at the referendum, and then you have a constitutional clause which allows for extension of term. Then you will have to have another referendum to specifically deal with the current incumbent. And again, those referenda, the two referenda, must not be held within a space of 6 months of each other. So you have to hold another referendum well after. As a person has been in government since 1980, he has been in cabinet since 1980, and he has held a lot of portfolios. And then after the military coup, he did 1 year, which was the last year of Mugabe's term.
Senator Manzura, I think we have lost you there.
irresponsible and carries will laugh us. That's number one. But number two, this will exacerbate the international isolation of Zimbabwe. Remember, one of the conditionalities of joining the Commonwealth is that you must sort out your electoral system. Now, if you amend the constitution, you are now affecting the electoral system, which
I think we have lost the senator again. Can you hear me, Silent?
Yes, I think he's reconnecting. There's a bit of a network challenge. We can continue, I think.
No, thank you very much. There was Senator Douglas Monzora. Senator Douglas Monzora was part of the COPAC, and was one of those people who helped in terms of making sure that we have the constitution that we are referring to today. And I thought it was very important for us to be able to have a background on the issues that we are going to be discussing today. Now, on my panel, I also have Dr. Walter Mzembi. Dr. Walter Mzembi is a former minister, foreign affairs cabinet member in President Emerson in President Robert Gabriel Mugabe's cabinet. He held two different portfolios there, but the last one that is remembered for is the one of foreign affairs. He used to be the Minister of Environment and Tourism. Dr. Walter Mzembi, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us on this space. Now, Dr. Mzembi, you know the insides of ZANU-PF. You have worked within ZANU-PF. Our question today is the EG 2030 campaign dead in the water? President Emerson Mnangagwa announced that he wants to go and rest. He will be resting. He will not be seeking to extend his term of office beyond that which the Constitution requires him to serve. Now, is this a ploy? Is this factual? Is it dead in the water? Over to you, Dr. Walter.
Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this very contentious discussion regarding President Mnangagwa's succession. That said, we've been in this dilemma before, where an incumbent throws in the towel or opts to go according to the dictates of the Constitution, as President Mnangagwa suddenly realized what ahead or lies ahead of him in terms of legalities that he needs to overcome. And I think Senator Douglas Monzora has very much put it lucidly for everyone's understanding what a journey it would be legally for President Mnangagwa to overcome in order for him to benefit from this desire to extend his term to 2030. The only difference between what he's trying to do now and what perhaps was attempted in the past is that President Mnangagwa has cleverly punctured the ball. So we are playing a deflated ball now, all of us. Because he has basically taken the steam out of the debate by announcing that he will abide by the Constitution and depart the stage by 2028. However, the politics is speaking to a different ball game. Two fundamental questions arise whenever an extension is sought, whether legal or illegal, and in this case unconstitutional. You either have been playing the game very, very well to the enjoyment and satisfaction of your audience, which then demands an anchor that they want some more of you. Or secondly, you are, as in the game of football, in a deadlock, and then extra time determines the end result. The questions to ask are we enjoying and satisfied with the incumbent's tenure to the extent that we seek to extend his term? And secondly, does he have unfinished business beyond 2028 meriting an extension, or shall he have it then? To answer these questions, I think the fundamental issue that I see preoccupying his mind at this stage, and I know this from following what is happening in the country, is the issue of legacy. 7 years down the line, we need to compute what perhaps his legacy has been. And I can see that propagandists and those that are trying to package him are trying to produce an infrastructural president out of him. But let me dare say that brick and mortar has never been a leader's lasting legacy. It's ideas, it's ideology, philosophy for sure. If materialism alone was legacy, then I think we would be celebrating King Solomon's majesty and splendor to this very day with so much awe. But we remember him more for his wisdom, more for his thinking, which subsists in Ecclesiastes and Proverbs in the Bible. That's his philosophical legacy, not his 2.3 trillion pounds accumulation in gold, 900 concubines, the finest temples made of the finest timber from the cedar of Lebanon. No, none of that exists, not even a relic of that. What subsisted is those two books in the Bible, his philosophy. And closer to home, we would otherwise be also celebrating Ian Smith as a hero. We live on his infrastructural backbone to this day. But no, we don't remember him for that. We remember him for his brutal racist reign. That's what we recall, his racist philosophy. So I am bothered a lot why, in essence, we lose the uniting of our people in the agenda of this incumbent president. We all saw the benefits of national unity in our early years of independence in 1980 to 1983. Post-independence, 1987, the unity talks between ZANU and ZAPU-PF. Post-global political agreement, another unity model, again giving birth to the government of national unity. So why have we entrenched the division by choosing agendas that divide us? We know that perpetuity in office beyond constitutional limits divides us. We know that longevity in office itself is a dividing issue. It led to the November 2017 coup. So why are we not picking national unity and the renewal agenda so that we take care of this negative energy that 2030 is bringing upon us? The question to your answer, the answer to your question is we are playing a deflated ball. No one has stopped playing. If anything, there's a spirited attempt to even kick that ball further. Elections are the most divisive element of our democracy. If they are run opaquely, unfairly, and freely, as some suggest, they are the most dividing issue. So why, after an elective episode of such a dividing nature as August 2023, do we then choose 6 months down the line an agenda that divides us further before resolving the conflict on hand? President Mnangagwa right now faces a crisis of confidence in terms of trust deficit between him and the people. It doesn't matter what he announces. So to be dismissed as a liar or misleading the nation, let alone having this debate on 2030, after he has spelled out that I'm going, is really a demonstration of a trust deficit between him and the people. And what is the cause of this distrust? He's turning right over his lifetime when he's speaking left, or vice versa. And there are innumerable examples of this political behavior that will probably need 5 sessions every day on X here, if we were to enumerate them. It's the company that he keeps and nurtures that distrust, that develops this distrust. Keeping a promise, fellow citizens, whether it's a promise to an individual, a promise to a constituency, a promise to a nation, and let alone a promise to an international community, is the hallmark of integrity. Keeping a promise to a spouse, to your children inside the family is the essence of leadership. So many of us here in this platform today, I think we are all married people somehow, or we have girlfriends. But if you hear your wife saying, "You've broken my trust," it doesn't matter what you do thereafter, it's over. It's over. If a woman says to you, "You have broken my trust," it means it's over. So many of us here in this platform may have been conceived during the night or born during the night, but we were not born last night, especially politically. We have examples of how U-turns were made in politics in the past by my own former president, Mugabe on Mujuru, resulting in the purging of the Gamatox faction, who were the authors of this script, which revs and prompts rivals to go through red robots. The very same person under discussion here, who appointed the National Political Commissar, who seemingly today is defying his boss and continuing unabated with the mission abandoned in Mutare only about 2 weeks ago. ZANU-PF is a commandist party. It shouldn't be difficult to follow marching orders once issued. So why does defiance seem to secure compliments and a following promotion instead of suspension and dismissal if the president is genuine and sincere about his desire to leave the stage like a good dancer does? Let me give you an anecdote minuted in cabinet after Mugabe demanded a report through his security minister Moadi to establish why there were so many security breaches in the vice president's office, both at party and government, and the lacing of his furniture with supposed cyanide. Moadi came back after 2 weeks and left all of us in stitches after the presentation of his report, which claimed that the said cyanide substance was less harmful than Rolamil or Onjibataura. Today, Mohadi is the vice president of the Republic of Zimbabwe. So why should some of us privileged with this knowledge take a presidential U-turn at face value? I would urge His Excellency the President to rebuild the trust first, show us why he thinks he should leave the stage out of goodwill, not even out of constitutionalism, out of a desire to bequeath to successor generations a united Zimbabwe, a prosperous Zimbabwe. So in concluding my opening remarks, I really couldn't care less whether he stays on to 2028, to 2030, 2033. It's not material here. It is not the urgent business of the state in the first year of a second 5-year term of an incumbent. No, we can't be preoccupied with how someone will perpetuate himself further beyond the constitutional limit when he is only in the first year of the second 5-year term. First, he must regain trust. Secondly, he must unite the people of Zimbabwe for purpose. Unity is the most superior currency of any nation. And he should start that in ZANU-PF, genuinely reunite people in ZANU-PF. I speak out of exile, whether you call itself imposed exile or forced exile. But why should a democracy that gained independence in 1980 seek to exile other citizens simply for being contrarian and disagreeing? For me, that is the starting point. Unite your party and seek even the unity of opposition, because you need a good opposition to checkmate you when you are governing. So let me say the president should reflect very seriously why some people want to see his back like yesterday. A man, in my view, who squandered a very unique opportunity to author a lasting legacy of unity, peace, and prosperity, as the ZANU-PF motto itself says. This discussion is beyond ZANU-PF, it's national. And we must be united by unity of purpose as nationals to make sure that we assist him in meeting his commitment to leave the stage by 2028. I thank you.
Thank you very much for that lucid intro and very informative one. I like the analogy of the cyanide and the roller mill. I will defer to the information director for ZANU PF, Farai Marapia, who is in the thick of things. I remember one interview that you did say, Comrade Marapira, where you said that ZANU PF is not looking or thinking of extending the term of the presidency because there was nothing that has been put before the party or that the party had put together to push for that particular position. But here we are. The president had to make himself clear in Tari and said that he is looking to retire and rest and allow and the party in 2027 will be electing a new leader. Is is this the end of the ED Anengachi report in 2020 in 2030 campaign? Over to you, Director of Information, Comrade Farai Marapia.
Thank you very much. Allow me to greet everyone who has decided to join us. Allow me also to greet all our fellow speakers, all protocols observed. Well, our first speaker was Mr. Monzora. I'd like to thank him for clarifying the constitutional requirements and the constitutional issues around the concept of extending term limits for the president. However, I would not want to go much into this issue because my president has already spoken. My president has spoken not just last week, as Mr. Mzembe is unfortunately saying that he made a U-turn last week. He has said it several times that he is not interested in a second term. What then happens is our internal democracies in a third term. What then happens is our internal processes as a democracy. Maybe Mr. Mzembe has not seen that ZANU-PF has now taken a big turn for democracy. People are allowed to speak their minds more. And we do not punish or chase out people from the party for speaking out their mind, even if the president has been saying something. We are a party in which the president listens and allows people to speak their minds. This must be a new phenomenon to him because when he had his time, there was no tolerance for people to speak their minds. So this might be a new concept which is foreign to him. As to the issue of people speaking onto the 2030 agenda within the party, it means the people are satisfied with the tenure. That doesn't mean of President Mnangagwa. That doesn't mean that everyone has to be satisfied. That's why we've got the opposition. That's why we've got people like him himself to speak their open mind and to speak their opinions. But as ZANU-PF, we find that within our ranks, we've got some supporters who are appreciating the works of the president, and he himself has acknowledged that a lot of infrastructural work has been done. But in terms of ideology, the proof of the pudding, the proof of the cake is in the eating. We find that people are now speaking their mind, people are coming up with their slogans, but as a party, we have not discussed this, and the president has been very clear. So what we have is people within certain sectors of opposition who essentially do not have much to be doing, that are trying to run with this agenda and to run with this story. When in ZANU-PF, we listen to the word of our leader, and when our leader speaks, that is what we are doing. So really, this debate is not even supposed to take more than 5 minutes because the president has been clear several times on his position. And people within the party are speaking their mind. This is the wonder and the beauty of democracy within an organization where people can freely speak their mind, people can freely speak their dreams, impossible, possible, probable, or improbable. People need to understand and appreciate that this is the full conceptualization of democracy. And this is why we find that ZANU-PF is the part of majority, and other parties may not be doing so well because we give our people the room to speak, the room to express themselves. This is the ZANU-PF of President Mnangagwa, where people can express themselves, people can speak their minds without fear of being censured for having said something which is contrary to what the president may have said. That does not imply that there's a lack of discipline.
That simply implies that we are now a party in which people can speak their minds freely and fairly. So I really do not have much more to say, because I cannot speak over and above what the First Secretary has said. The First Secretary has made it very clear himself that he's not seeking a third term. So I do not know how we then debate over issues which have been clearly enunciated and clearly stated. How do we create a debate out of that? How does this debate then obtain? I still have to seek clarity on that and have a better understanding. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we'll start waffling and digressing, because really this issue is finished and dealt with from the onset. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Comrade Farai Marapia, and for your clear and concise presentation. It
I
remains
want to
important.
correct something.
I'll give you an opportunity, Senator Monzora. Just a moment. Comrade Marapida says this issue is dead in the water. His party first secretary, the president of Zimbabwe, has spoken. But as Zimbabweans, in the history of politics, as mentioned by Dr. Walter Mzembe, there has been a lot of mistrust among Zimbabweans and the issues that are pronounced by leaders. And this space gives an opportunity of clarity, of introspection, and of political analysis to be able to appreciate these issues and many more, so that Zimbabweans are clear and understand the way going forward. But it's not my place to be able to give direction. We have invited a political analyst, Efo Ngube, who is a trainer and a consultant on transitional justice, peace, and human rights. I'm inviting you now, Efo Ngube, before I go to Senator Monzora, to be able to give his clarity on issues. To give us an analysis, a political analysis, in terms of the historical, the present, and probably the futuristic issues that we're looking at. Do you think that the announcement at a rally by President Emerson Mnangagwa that he's not seeking to extend his term beyond 2028 is something that Zimbabweans could take to the bank and think that they are safe? Over to you, Efo.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the host. I think it's not going to be the last time we hear about it. As you rightly say, and as other speakers have pointed out, that there is an element of mistrust in Zimbabwe, and it's very historical. It goes back decades, even before independence, when politics was built around individuals. And then subsequent to our independence from 1980, we had President Mugabe in office for 37 years. And that was a wrong legacy, first and foremost. It is set a wrong political culture for the rest of the country. What we needed right from the onset in 1980 was to ensure that we have very strong institutions that can outlast individuals, whether they are government institutions or political party institutions. It is important to note that first and foremost, we need to democratize our own political parties so that they are bigger than the leaders themselves, so that they are bigger than the rest of the membership in a party, so that they can outlast the membership and the leaders of a party. Because political parties are the vehicle with which we develop policies, ideologies, and so forth that we use to govern the country. They are very important. So to the extent that they are democratic, to the extent that they are bigger than the leaders themselves, it becomes easier for them to be vehicles of deepening democracy in Zimbabwe or in any country for that matter. So that is why you will find that it is very difficult for people to immediately trust when the leaders say, I'm not going to do this, because they have seen things being done differently even after a statement was issued to the effect, to the contrary, let me put it that way. So I would not suggest at any stage that this is the last time we will hear about the discussions. This is not to suggest that the president was saying something that he doesn't believe in, but it raises a lot of questions because our constitution is very clear, as Senator Monzora said earlier on. When you look at our section 328 of the constitution, is very clear. And it was built that way because we had concerns as people that there will be people who last forever in power, and that will undermine our institutions, our democratic institutions, undermine transparency, undermine accountability, and erode the rule of law and the respect for human rights. So that is why we ended up with that constitution. I remember quite well the kind of debates that were then that took place around that particular exercise, to say we needed to limit the people who are in office to 2 terms. But also importantly to say, if you are in office at the time you initiate, or your friends initiate, or your party initiates a constitutional amendment to the term limits, you are not going to benefit. You still need the people of Zimbabwe to agree to that one. And to the extent that one can look around and see what is happening in the country does not need an amendment to that effect. We don't need to extend the term of office, not only of President Emerson Mnangagwa, but of me if I were president, of Senator Monzora if he were president, or any of the people if they were president. It's high time we respected our constitution. It's the holy book of Zimbabwe. We all converged around it. This is the constitution that we wrote for ourselves without being chaired by anyone. Remember, in 1979, the constitution that governed from that time to 2013 is a constitution that was produced in 1979. We were powerless as the people of Zimbabwe. We were led by the British then. The Rhodesians were still in charge. But in 2013, we were in charge. We came up with a constitution that reflected our dreams, our aspirations, our values. It's high time everyone respected that constitution. Very, very important. It's not good for people to take political tourism through the constitution, mutilate it, undermine it, as people are doing. If you are speaking against the constitution by saying so and so is going to remain in power beyond constitutional limits, then by implication you are suggesting that you have alternatives to following the legal route. That is what is concerning to the people of Zimbabwe. To say this constitution the way it is, it makes it impossible legally to change it so that the incumbent can continue in power beyond 2028. So what is there that we don't know that those that are suggesting that the president is going to be in power in 2030 have? Those are the very serious concerns. So it's important to discipline ourselves, make sure that we all teach our children, our political parties, to respect the Constitution of Zimbabwe, to respect the people of Zimbabwe who wrote the Constitution, and ensure that we pass on, we keep the legacy of respecting term limits, of respecting democracy and human rights. That is very, very key. It is about future generations and not right now. We may debate these things, but the future generations are the ones that are going to ask themselves whether or not we respected the Constitution to the extent that they can learn from us. So to me, it's important that we understand that this Constitution is not a Constitution of just 2013. It is the legacy of the liberation strategy itself. It is a Constitution that was written by the people of Zimbabwe as a free people beyond after independence, and therefore it reflects who we are. We must respect it. It's high time that is done throughout Zimbabwe by all political parties. It's important that President Mnangagwa comes out very clear, repeatedly again and again, and also stops the people within the party, those that are suggesting that he should ignore the Constitution, they are undermining the constitution itself. That would be my opening remarks, sir.
Thank you very much for that, for your opening remarks. I'll now revert to Senator Douglas Monzo. Senator Monzo, initially I had not asked you to deal with the question that is on our topic. I just asked you to speak to the Constitution. But at this moment, Senator, you have been a politician, a leader of a political party, but I also know that you're one of those people who have been in opposition for the longest of times, and you have been fighting for justice, for constitutionalism, most of your life. Let us talk about the discussion that President Emerson Mnangagwa has said that he's not looking to campaign or to live his presidential life beyond 2028 as presented to us by the constitution and as the law in Zimbabwe. Does this bring the campaign for ED Aningaripo 2030 dead in the water? I mean, looking at how did it even come up in the first place that people would chant slogan to that effect? And at one rally, President Emerson Mnangagwa actually brought people to chant that, not people, but his ministers, those who sit in cabinet, to chant that slogan, which Laningewa Chipo 2030. Does it bring dead to the water this argument that there is a plan to extend President Emerson Mnangagwa's life beyond 2028? Over to you, Senator Monzo. Unfortunately, it looks like Senator Monzo again has dropped. And as we wait for him to come back, I see two of my speakers, Senator Monzo has dropped, and Dr. Walter Mzembe has also dropped. But I'll come to Comrade Marapida, the Director for Information. Now, they seem that ZANU-PF, people are worried that ZANU-PF indicates left and always turns right, in that the announcement by your first secretary is not being taken as as fact. There's worry that this could be a smokescreen that is designed to put people into a relaxation mode, so that when everyone else is relaxed, the joker will be thrown into the ring and terms will be extended. We saw this happening with the Chief Justice Luke Malaba, whose term of office was extended. In your view, or in your understanding, not your view, but in your understanding of the matrices, ZANU-PF, is it possible that this debate or these slogans will come back and will haunt Zimbabwe for a lifetime? Over to you, Derek.
Well, allow me to say that first and foremost, my president and first secretary does not speak with a forked tongue. When he speaks, what he says is what we understand and what we follow and understand. However, if some choose to have certain views about what he says in their capacity, then that's them. Within ZANU-PF, we have no problems with our leader, and when he speaks, we listen. Allow me also to address FEO. Most of the time, we're now in a lecture on the history of Zimbabwe, so I'm not going to comment on the history of Zimbabwe, which is what he spent most of his time talking about. I want to speak on him attacking the people that are making these slogans within ZANU-PF. Do people not have a constitutional right to freedom of expression? We should not overdo and overextend ourselves by trying to become who believe that they know everything and decide everything that should be debated and things that should be spoken about and not. We in ZANU-PF, under the leadership of President Mnangagwa, we have started a new culture where people have their freedom of expression. There is nothing wrong with someone speaking their mind. We encourage that in ZANU-PF. So if people are going to sloganeer, people are going to show their support, people are going to say whatever it is they want to say. We encourage that. We do not tell people what to say, what not to say in ZANU-PF, and we believe that that is democracy. So we allow our people to speak what they want, and we will do this and we'll defend this right, because it is even there within the constitution that my brother Effie seems to be giving so much respect to. So allow our people to speak their minds, allow our people to say what they want. That is democracy, that is diversity, and that is what builds a stronger nation. We cannot be undermining the constitution, as Effie is saying, by speaking our minds. I think he lost the plot somewhere along there. And as to your issues, Blessed, where you mentioned the issue of Lukmalaba, that is not a party issue. I speak on behalf of the party, so I will not comment on that issue. My commentary and my opinion simply extends within the ambit and the parameters of ZANU-PF, the party. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Comrade Malapia. This space is brought to you by the Newsday, Alpha Media Holdings, and these spaces. We have business inclined space every Tuesday on the Zimbabwe Independent page, and on every Thursday on the Standard or the Newsday page, where we bring you important national issues that we discuss, so that all Zimbabweans find each other and all of us contribute to the nation building of this great nation. I see. I would want to acknowledge on our platform one of the greatest minds in Zimbabwe, political analyst, academic, former minister, Professor Jonathan Moyo. I mean, I was at a comedy show one evening, King Kando, and was talking up to the power and commitment to Zimbabwean communication. Some wish to call it propaganda. The powers of Professor Jonathan Moyo during his time as information minister, and this is something that we can all as Zimbabweans acknowledge. His commitment to the work, his introduction of that saw the growth of local music in Zimbabwe during his time. I acknowledge your presence here on this space, and would wish if you are able to come to the space to take the speakers and be able to be able to give us information and add into this debate this evening. Thank you very much, Professor Jonathan Moyo, for joining us from wherever you are. Now, Effie, there's this response that has come from the director of ZANU-PF, and I'll just ask you to directly respond and have a conversation on the issues that he has raised.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Yes, I am for the freedom of expression. It is clearly outlined in the Constitution. And I would wish that the freedom is extended to every Zimbabwean, regardless of their political affiliation, whether they are in the opposition or the governing party, whether they are ordinary people walking in the streets or flying over us. Every person is guaranteed the right to freely express themselves. And it would be important that every institution of state, every agency of state, every arm of state respects that right to freely express oneself. The difference is that when you are in power, when you are governing, your freedom of expression is not the one that one would compare with the rest of the people, because so many people are paying attention. The markets are paying attention. The international community is paying attention. Young people are paying attention because of your location. You are in power. So as you express yourself, it is important that you show that you are respecting the Constitution. If you freely express yourself in a way that suggests that you do not respect the Constitution and you are in power, that is not what the people of Zimbabwe or anyone else would want to see. So it's important that as they express themselves, they must express themselves within the bounds of the Constitution, particularly in this matter. No one is suggesting that anyone out there within the ruling party in the opposition should be restricted from freely expressing themselves on this issue or any issue. All I'm saying is that the very fact that the president has spoken and said, I am not for extending my terms of office. I'm serving my last term. There has to be discipline enough. And because the president has said that I'm saying this because I respect the Constitution, automatically it means that anyone else who is suggesting to the contrary does not respect the Constitution. That's all I was saying, that even if they express themselves, fair and fine, let them be disciplined. Let them respect the Constitution of Zimbabwe. That's very, very important. And beyond that, it's important that we show that we are a law-abiding society. As I said earlier, this is our Constitution. We wrote it ourselves. It was written by the people of Zimbabwe. And it is the people of Zimbabwe who say it is two-term limits. And that does not matter whether you are in this party or that party. That is what matters. We need to focus on that, the rule of law, our own laws, and respect that. They can elect anyone. Now that the president has come out very clear, within ZANU-PF, he has said that they can elect a successor. And if the people of Zimbabwe love that successor, they can still vote for him to take over from President Mnangagwa. That's the beauty of the Constitution that we have, that it gives an opportunity to everyone who wants to be president, and they are 40 and above. If all of us were respecting the Constitution, we wouldn't be having any problems. We need to respect the Constitution and open up the political space as much as the political space is opened within ZANU-PF, as my brother is suggesting, that this is a new ZANU-PF with complete freedoms within. That should be extended beyond. Thank you. Thank you. Are you still on?
Yes. We're still there. It looks like we have lost. Dr. Mzembe, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. I'm back. Just a response to Comrade Farai, the comments about freedom of expression or freedom of speech. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as it is a ZANU-PF debate within the remit of the ZANU-PF constitution. They can have President Mnangagwa to 2030 or 2050. But when we are in this matter of accession to national presidency of a country, we are guided by the Constitution, and the Constitution is a superior law to the ZANU-PF Constitution and the desires and the whims and caprices of ZANU-PF following. And I thought we should make that very clear, that no one restricts freedom of speech of ZANU-PF members if the debate to sustain and retain their president to 2030 or beyond is within the remit of ZANU-PF discourse. But when we are talking executive presidents of the country, I think the law is as clear as has been pronounced and shared with us by Senator Monzora. I also want to just touch on the issue of the world of difference between indiscipline and speaking one's mind. I would imagine that when the president speaks about the two-term limit, he's talking about the national presidency and not the ZANU-PF presidency. And I think even being a ZANU-PF disputed member as I am, I know the definition of indiscipline and discipline. So we still expect the president to rein in those errant elements who speak to the breaching the national constitution and put them on the rails. So yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dr. Walter Mzembi. I'll just ask Senator Monzora to go ahead. I just wanted you, Senator Monzora, to address the debate in question, because earlier on I had not asked you to address the question. I had asked you to address the constitutional provisions and the thinking that was behind it. But you as a politician, is this the end of 2030 campaign of ED Aningachipo? Over to you, Senator Monzora.
Thank you very much, Blessed, and my apologies. We are having network challenges here. I see quite a lot of people are misinterpreting what the president himself said. According to, I think the colleague from ZANU-PF, I think it is Mr. Marapira, he is of the opinion that President Mnangagwa said that I am not going to run for a third term as Zimbabwean president. That's not what President Mnangagwa said. President Mnangagwa said he will not stand again for the third time as ZANU-PF president. He did not talk of national presidency. And this is where people are being taken for a ride. If the president, being he is, was of the opinion that he was ruling out completely running for national presidency, he would have said that. He talked about ZANU-PF presidency, and I want to address that. It is possible in the constitution that it's not necessary that you be a president of a political party to be candidate for president country, be the secretary general of the MDC, and still be the presidential candidate even in the presence of a president. It is possible at law to do that. So the president left this thing hanging, left this thing ambiguous, and it was clear that he may have got mischievous legal advice. We want the president to say that he is not going to run again for national presidency, or that he is not going to extend his term as a national president. Now, my colleague, Mr. Marapira, then says that we should not worry about this because it is freedom of expression by ZANU-PF. Now, let me address freedom of expression. Our very constitution that we are talking about says clearly that your freedom is subject to the freedom of others. It is not part of freedom of expression to say something that is blatantly unconstitutional, to say something that is blatantly divisive. For example, I can't say that, just as an example, I then hear people in my party saying Ndebele people must not be allowed to vote. And then I say it's okay, it's freedom of expression, it doesn't represent the party. No, I censure that as a president. we have seen ZANU-PF itself, it is encouraging this slogan. And now there are now songs glorify President Mnangagwa, and there are slogans being said even at funerals. Remember that MP in Manicaland, at the scene of the accident, he said that the slogan again, and even asked the civil service there to repeat the slogan. Now, my friend wants to make us think that this is an idle talk. No, ZANU-PF are testing the waters, and we need to tell them, to show them that this is unacceptable. Freedom of expression, yes, but the freedom of expression on things that are blatantly unconstitutional, that blatantly amount to desecration of the Constitution, is not freedom of expression at all. It is not responsible at all. And we must see more from ZANU-PF. But let me repeat that the President Mnangagwa has not spoken that he is willing to step down as state president. No, he has spoken specifically about ZANU-PF. So how they intend to do it, I don't know. But they have two, according to the lawyers that I speak to, ZANU-PF lawyers for that matter, there are two possibilities. Number one, it is to seek a third term. But number two, it is to try to say from now onwards, the presidential term is no longer 5 years. It is now 7 years. And they want to argue that that is not an extension of term. No, that is an extension of term. Zimbabwe has a lot of problems that it is facing. The problem of unemployment, poverty, education. 500 students are out of school because they cannot afford fees. There's the issue of health. There's the issue of inequality and corruption. And there, the ruling party introduces this very divisive debate. It is testing the waters. And why introduce this debate after elections? It is clearly to set the agenda, and Zimbabweans must unite across the political divide that this is not right. President Mnangagwa must serve his term and go home as the state president and not as the ZANU-PF president.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Senator Monzo. But I'll just, without breaking the floor, ask Director Faye Marapira to just immediately respond to this. Director, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's quite interesting. We are seeing people revision, a lot of revisionism and redefinition of democracy to suit people's agendas and ends. But I guess that is the whole point of debates, and when people are trying to have their points pushed across. Effie was saying that people, well, this point was then stated again by Comrade Mzembe, saying that this freedom of speech within ZANU-PF is affecting the nation. ZANU-PF as a party has not come to anyone and said they want to change the constitution. So how is the constitution attacked? A constitution can only be attacked when people have done an active move to illegally usurp it. Nothing has been done. People are just talking within ZANU-PF, and within ZANU-PF, Mr. Monzora, there is no debate. The debate is within the opposition. We're actually wondering what you're doing with your own parties, because it seems people are so fixated with the ZANU-PF. But it's the usual thing when you know, you're the one with the ball. ZANU-PF presidency, and you are saying that our president and first secretary has left the nation hanging. That is an opinion, and that is not based on fact, because I think I would advise him to revisit the clip and listen to what the president said once again. Then I think you'll be better advised. And what is mischievous is presuming that he can tell our first secretary what to say. From what basis is he saying the president should say this? Our president will speak his mind, as does any Zimbabwean, as does anybody anyway. And he is responsible for what he says, and he does not speak to the whims of people within opposition and so on. this whole talk is idle talk by the president and testing of waters and so on. That is his opinion, and we're not here to discuss opinion. We're here to discuss what is factual, and we're not here to discuss shadows on the wall. We're here to discuss what has been said and what is real and what is tangible. What is tangible is that the president, they say that he is not standing for a third term, and this was said publicly several times. What people choose to insinuate and try to understand and try to conjoin and create different words from what has been said is not our responsibility as ZANU-PF. Our responsibility as ZANU-PF is to respect the words spoken by our First Secretary, repeat them, and adhere to them. So this is what that is happening, but at the same time, people have got a right to speak their minds, and this is democracy, and our people and our supporters in ZANU-PF and members have got a right to speak what they want, and it is not the role of anyone outside of ZANU-PF to look into our conversations which we have within ZANU-PF. We are not doing anything against anyone. We are having our internal activities. Why is it so much interest to people within the opposition? That is what is leaving me worried. And the president himself has been clear that he has on several occasions, but still we still find an agenda within the opposition where they're trying to.
Director,
yes.
Director, I want you to confront issues that are clear and specific. Now, maybe you can help us understand the people in this space and the people in Zimbabwe to understand where the ED Anenga Achipo in 2030 slogan is coming from. What does it mean? How do ministers, cabinet ministers, sworn to respect and abide by the Constitution of Zimbabwe, utter such slogans in front of your president, of our president, and it's okay, and it
Let me answer.
People. Yes.
When people say Idianingashi for 2030, are we not running an economic recovery program which is Vision 2030? We are.
There's a clear slogan that says,
it is a clear, yes, but it is clear. It is clear.
Loosely translate. I mean, loosely, converted. It means you will be in power 2030. Because he's tongering now and he'll be tongering in 2030. So can you address those issues so that people can be very, very clear and can begin to reposit trust in the issues that you speak of and in the words of the president? Thank you.
You see, this is the problem when people try to interpret slogans and statements made within ZANU-PF when they are not members. You start coming up with your own definitions, your own answers, without asking those of us within the party what the slogan is about. So at the end of the day, you have already come up with your own definition of what we mean when we are speaking within our own party. So I do not know how to answer you. I am only simply saying when we have our internal conversations, we speak our language as ZANU-PF. And if you're not a ZANU-PF member, do not.
I understand.
You spoke and I did not. You spoke and I did not disturb you. We are not having a battle. You were saying this the other time. Can I finish?
No, I'm just moderating. So I want you to be able to explain so that our listeners.
I'll finish and then you ask me another question so that. I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere. I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. But internal
let me finish.
Are done within Shake building. But when they appear on national television, when they appear on ZBC, they stop becoming internal. So I just want you to have a clarity and explain to people. My issue is, can you just explain? I'm giving you the opportunity to explain to people what that means so that they can also begin to understand. Thank you very much, Director. Can you just explain to people?
You can join ZANU-PF and we'll explain it to you. Why should we give our internal memos and conversations to people that are not members of ZANU-PF? and our codes. What I'm simply saying is, as ZANU-PF, the president has been clear that he is not going to stand. He is going to respect the constitution. So what other conversations we have within ZANU-PF when our first secretary has spoken are not of anyone's concern who is not a member of ZANU-PF. Simple.
But ZANU-PF has spoken certain things and they have come to pass. For example, President Mugabe in 1985 said in Chitungwiza, Gobora Zigutswa, and 3 days later, people were being beaten from the opposition. They were being beaten in Zengeza. And if we go to the before Gukura Hundi, immediately before Gukura Hundi, there were sentiments expressed by ZANU-PF, and they were then followed by what we all know happened and what we all as a nation are ashamed, ought to be ashamed of. Then come 2008, President Mugabe, after his defeat by Tsvangirai on the 29th of March, made a speech in Gwanzura Stadium. Basically saying that they wanted to fight and so on. And President Mugabe went on to say, we are going, this is war. A ballpoint and a bullet cannot match one another. This was followed by serious bloodletting that took place in 2008. Why should Zimbabweans think that what is coming out of ZANU-PF is idle talk? Why should Zimbabweans wait for the day of reckoning to say, you are told that there is danger coming, or you see signs of danger coming, you have seen it before? Why should we wait for the danger to arrive? Why should we not raise the red flag on this? But having said that, my dear comrade, whatever ZANU-PF is going to decide, we know as Zimbabweans, and we have many examples where ZANU-PF has indicated left and turned right. We have examples even where this president, in his various capacities, has indicated left and turned right. And what is worrying and what Comrade Marapira has not addressed is the fundamental issue of the meaning of the president's statement. This president's statement is that as president of ZANU-PF, not as president of Zimbabwe. So I'm going to step down as president of ZANU-PF and someone is going to get into my shoes. That's why he talked about something getting into his shoes. Yes.
Emerson Mnangagwa was very clear that he's going to rest in his statement. He said, now, if he is going to rest, are you saying that he was implying that he was going to rest just from the party, not from the country? Now, I want us to be fair and to be clear on these issues.
Yeah, blessed. The president spoke before saying, spoke some words before saying Kunozorora. And he specifically said, and you can check the clip, he is president of ZANU-PF party. He is not going to seek another term as president of the party. That's what the clip said. And I even sought to look at the constitution of ZANU-PF. And as I view, I am holding the constitution of ZANU-PF amended in 2022. And I took it because I wanted to cross-check whether a person can still be president of Zimbabwe without being president of a party or of ZANU-PF in this regard. And that is possible. So there has been left a legal ambiguity which can be exploited at a later stage to say, I never said I will step down, I will step down as president of the nation. So the words must be taken within their context. That is why when I said, which Comrade Marapira then reacted to, I said the president owes the nation an explanation, an explicit explanation, to say he is going to step down as president of the country. He said he is going to step down as president of ZANU-PF. And that is a big loophole that has been left.
Amazing. Ethel, let's have this conversation. I mean, you're an economic, you're a political analyst, and obviously not aligned to political.
Just to remind you, I was cut in the middle of speaking. I hadn't finished my submission.
Sorry, please go ahead. I thought you had ceded the mic. My apologies. It's my responsibility to protect you and to ensure that your thoughts are well put forward. Director, please go ahead.
Allow me to just play the clip by the president, so that we debunk these misconstruements being made by Mr. Mwanzora, because clearly he did not listen well to it as I had advised. Is it okay if I play the clip? Thank you.
Please go ahead.
After every first day, trade at Congress. Every first day, trade at Congress. Right now, Congress, those are the president. President, whatever, but then I will exercise measures. In the kind of fashion, so that my last 5 years,
So I do not know what is very unclear about that, because at the end of the day, let us not run the risk of trying to be. Please, Ms. Monzora, let me finish talking. We are not in a hurry. You get to chat. Yes. So it is clear the president has stated.
Director, just a moment, Director. I would want to appeal to all my panelists to give each other an opportunity to speak. We will give you an opportunity to respond. It's important that everyone is heard and no one is interrupted on this platform. Alpha Media Holdings believes in giving everyone an opportunity to be heard. Our spaces are civil and allow engagement without regard of person's background, political affiliation, or race. So please allow me to moderate. Director, please go ahead.
As you have heard from the clip, the president has been very, very clear. I do not know how much clearer he can be. He has spoken to our internal constitution as ZANU-PF. He has spoken to the coming election. When we go for Congress, we elect new leadership, and this is the leadership that will take the baton of ZANU-PF forward. So I do not know what further explanations should be given, except that now we have got an overambition of trying to assassinate the character of our first secretary. So this is no longer debating succession, but an opportunity which is now being used to throw barbs and arrows at our first secretary without substance. We are here on Twitter, which is a forum for facts, forum for educated, factual discourse, whereby our listeners come off richer by having listened to both sides and listen to the facts. So let us not try to come here to be assassins of character. Let us not come here to try antagonism for the sake of antagonism. Let us deal with the facts. Let us deal with the reality. I do not know why we even had this debate in the first place. I have no idea why we had this debate. I said from the very first sentence, this debate is not relevant because the president has been very clear on his stance on the issue of the third term. That's what I've been saying all along.
Director, what is clear to me is that the president spoke about the Congress. His resting and everything was based on Congress. Now, Zimbabwe does not elect its president based on a Congress. Can you address that issue?
But then, here we are as Zimbabwe asking ZANU-PF about why we are having slogans in our party. So you cannot be selective of ZANU-PF issues which you decide affect and do not affect the country. You will see people were telling me here that the slogans affect the country. So the Congress affects the country because it is at Congress where we elect a new leader. That is why I'm saying these slogans and our language in ZANU-PF can only be understood by a member of ZANU-PF. If you are not a member of ZANU-PF, you will give yourself false and fake interpretations of our processes. And people in the opposition make the mistake of deciding and deciphering our language for us when we are there to be asked and there to give the answers. That is the sad part of it, because there is a desperation to disdain, a desperation to soil the image of our leadership and our party unnecessarily. So there it is.
Can I come in?
I'm done.
Thank you. Can I come in? Blessed.
Me or we've lost the director or PF information director. But let me come to F.
No, I am here. I want to give others a chance to speak.
Okay, thank you very much, director. I'll come to F4. F4, the two political protagonists have given their views, but I want you as a political analyst to tell us the issues. How does an internal communication of ZANU-PF, how does a non-ZANU-PF member who listens to internal ZANU-PF communication react to such? How do we, as a nation, as a people who are governed by a ruling party, which is ZANU-PF, relate to internal communication from ZANU-PF as insinuated by the director? Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. I think it's important to state the fact that while there are internal discussions within ZANU-PF and internal processes within the ruling party, according to the constitution of the ruling party, it is ZANU-PF that is governing the country. So whatever decisions are made within ZANU-PF, at the end of the day, they touch each and every soul in Zimbabwe, because they are the ones that are controlling the levers of power. They are the ones that are controlling the purse strings of the state and everything else. So to the extent that they are in power, we all, regardless of whether you are in ZANU-PF or outside ZANU-PF, whether you are a bystander or an active political player, we are all interested in a democratic Zimbabwe, in a prosperous Zimbabwe, and so forth. We scrutinize even the manifestos of political parties, even if we are not members of those political parties, because just in case that party won or that party won, it will govern me. And that is why the people of Zimbabwe, regardless of their political affiliation, will pay attention to the discussions and the political discourses that are taking place within political parties, whether that party is the one that is in charge of the levers of power or it is in the opposition. We pay attention more so when it is the party that is in charge of the state apparatus. In this particular instance, yes, debate is taking place within ZANU-PF, but it automatically invites scrutiny from outside ZANU-PF, from citizens of Zimbabwe that are governed by ZANU-PF. So there is nothing amiss there. We don't have to wait until you are a member of a particular political party before you can critique or praise what is said in that particular political party. To the extent that what is being said seems to be contrary to the constitution of Zimbabwe, it raises questions from Zimbabweans to say, but we wrote a constitution, and this constitution says 2-term limits. Why are those people in that party saying that the person who is in charge of the state, who is president now, is going to be there in 2030? So this is a correct way of, this is a debate, mind you. So You are not going to silence people to say, well, there is freedom of expression within ZANU-PF or within that party or that party, but then the rest of the people that are outside the party cannot critique or question what is being said there. This is the most important political organization in the country now. It is in control of the state. It is running government. It is the government. And therefore, whatever is being said there, we pay attention whether you are an investor or a person going to school as a learner or a university student, a political analyst, or even a member of the opposition party, because beyond being a member of the opposition party, you are a Zimbabwe. And the policies that are affirmed, that are structured, that are decided by the party that is in power will affect you. We debate not just this. We debate the NDS1. We debate the economic policies that are crafted first and foremost within ZANU-PF that end up governing all of us. So we respect that. We are aware that their decisions carry weight, and therefore we have to pay attention, critique, praise them, or criticize them. That, to me, is correct. There is nothing wrong with that. So that would be my position, host.
Thank you very much, our political analyst. We brought you in to give context and also to guide us in terms of a non-partisan view. But I just want us to take note of one amazing young lady who is behind this space, Julia Ndlela. Her Twitter handle is @Julia Ndlela. She's the one who works behind the scenes to be able to bring us this amazing space and bring us our speakers. Basically, thank you very much, amazing young lady. Please kindly follow her and just check her profile. But this space is brought to you by Alpha Media Holdings, and today we are on the Newsday Twitter handle, which one of the big Twitter handles in Zimbabwe with 716,000 followers. We invite all of you in this space today who want to partner with us on any important topics that you feel that we need to discuss, that you feel that Zimbabweans need to talk to each other about, just to drop us an inbox or call us, and so that we are able to discuss important issues in our country as we are doing today. I note that we have our editor-in-chief, Kolwani Nyati, who is in this space, and I think we are going to give him an opportunity to just talk to us at the end of this space and give us the perspectives of what we do, who we are at Alpha Media Holdings, the publishers of the Standard, the Zimbabwe Independent, the Newsday, and broadcasters through the Heart and Soul TV, radio, and television. Thank you very much. I will ask my brother Silence to begin to open the floor so that we allow those who have joined us on this space to give their contribution, because our Media Holdings is about giving people a voice, it's about allowing people to be heard and to begin to shape the discourse of this country. Director Malapira, ZANU-PF, as Efo Ngube has just said, ZANU-PF is a ruling party. What it discusses in turn affects the whole entire nation. At one point, I listened to Patrick Chinamasa. At that particular moment, he was the spokesperson of ZANU-PF, and he said that ZANU-PF, as a political party, runs the nation because it's the ruling party. Its decisions are reflected in the policies of the party and as the nation. And just today, I was reading the Twitter end of ZANU-PF, which was saying that the deputy ambassador of Russia had visited the ZANU-PF HQ to discuss people-to-people relations between Russia and Zimbabwe. And this was happening at ZANU-PF headquarters. So I think also ZANU-PF must be able to say, we run the discourse in this country and not try to split hairs. So in your internal communications, are you aware of the fact, Director, that you affect how Zimbabwe is run? Director, over to you.
Thank you very much for the question. When Comrade Chinamasa spoke as spokesperson, he was speaking the party position which had been decided on. And then you can say ZANU-PF has spoken, and indeed ZANU-PF had spoken. When you say we run the discourse, yes, we do as a party, but our internal discourse is not the discourse of ZANU-PF, the official discourse of ZANU-PF. That is our internal discourse process. What ZANU-PF then says is spoken by representatives who are known to all. When we are still having our internal discourses and ZANU-PF has not officially said anything, then there is no reason for anyone to assume or infer that ZANU-PF has said this, because as you have noted, ZANU-PF is a spokesperson, ZANU-PF has got senior leadership, and when these speak, then you know that ZANU-PF has spoken. And the first secretary said he is not interested in a third term. He is going to allow the party to go to Congress, and then our processes will go on. So I come back to my point, which I said right at the start. People must understand what it means to say ZANU-PF has spoken. Internal party discourses are not the expression of ZANU-PF. When ZANU-PF speaks, people will know. And ZANU-PF has not spoken anything yet. Thank you.
ZANU-PF has not spoken anything yet. I'll come to you, Chimama. I want us to keep our contributions brief and straight to the point, so that we avoid trying to give opening remarks, so that we also give an opportunity to a number of people listening to be heard. Chimama, then I'll come to Bashona and Bosalani in that order.
Thank you so much, Newsday, Dara co-host, the speakers, Vanave Zimbabwe. Thank you for this moment. My submission is, I am surprised by the way Douglas Mwanzora addresses President ED as the president of Zimbabwe. The same for my brother Walter Mzembe. We have, everyone has just realized that the election was stolen. There has been proof going around in the streets, just as much as pakaitwa DNA. And the moment you realize the child is not your child based on the results, you start fighting. So here we are, we have had proof. Yekuti Chivayo and Mike Chimombe went and printed ballot papers in South Africa. We don't know how the ballot papers were transported to Zimbabwe, whether by air, whether by road, whether they were escorted, and so on. And I personally went to Rainform, the company that printed the ballot papers, just to ask what happened. And they said to me they only printed samples, paid the money back to Chivayo, but it is, according to the paperwork that is going around the streets, the ballot papers were printed in South Africa by a convicted criminal, Wicknow Chivayo.
I want us to stick ourselves to this succession debate.
Yeah. So how can we talk about a succession? How do we talk about a succession when there was no election? ED is illegitimate. We don't have a cabinet. We don't have parliament. Why do we talk about a succession of something that we realized months after inauguration that it was a sham of an election? I honestly believe, Kuti, if there is witchcraft, Zimbabweans, we have been witchcraft. Education doesn't help us at all. So now we know what happened. And we still continue to say our president ED, our minister of so and so, and this one. This is just my thing. So there is no succession to talk about from my point of view. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll go to you, Shona, then Bosalani. Guys, can I ask you kindly ask you that we be brief, we be straight to the point, and limit ourselves at the moment to the discussion that we have on the topic. The issue around ballot papers around Chivayo is something that Alpha Media Holdings is cooking something for you and will allow you to have this discourse and interaction. Over to you, Bashona.
Yeah, thanks, Dara, and I want to thank your panelists and everyone who is listening. Dara, just a quick, a reminder to everyone on this platform. When President Mnangagwa made his first trip to Davos in 2018,
Babashona's mic is off.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. So what I was saying, my brother, is that when President Mnangagwa went to Davos, his first trip to Davos as the president of Zimbabwe and the commander-in-chief of Zimbabwe Defense Forces, he made it very clear on interview with Steve Saka about this issue of succession. And in his response, President Mnangagwa said, I will not seek anything beyond 2 terms. That is, if I win the second term as the president of Zimbabwe. And I want to applaud my brother, our director for information and publicity in ZANU-PF, for articulating these issues. But one thing that is, continue to make us, going merry-go-round or having merry-go-round here in Zimbabwean politics, it's conspiracy theories that sometimes don't even see the day of the light, right? Dara, if you remember very well, and which is very critical in this discussion, the issue of Chabangu. We're told that, people are being, recalled because ZANU-PF want to have 2/3 majority so that they can push for third term for President Mnangagwa and so forth. And people went to town with it and go back to Shurugu kwa Neema with it and nothing materialized. So I just want to urge us Zimbabweans, let's focus on things that can develop our nation and build our nation and stop conspiracy theories. Because at the end of the day, conspiracy theories, they will never build anything as far as Zimbabwean politics is concerned. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Boss.
Thank you so much, Mkoma Dara, and wonderful to see all your guests here. I'll go straight to the point. First and foremost, Bashona talks of conspiracy theories. Now, this is what I don't understand. Director Farai, you are the director. You're the spokes ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is in power, right, at the current moment. So I'd assume that it is in your best interest to make sure that there are no statements which may prove problematic. ZANU-PF should not act like Ndio Zimbabwe. Let's get that right. You have a country that you're governing. This is ZANU-PF as the ruling party, where you've got a mixture of people from different political parties, people who are not in any political parties. We all make up Zimbabwe. And the moment there is a slogan which is repeatedly used by someone who is a member of ZANU-PF and citizens who ZANU-PF is supposed to be leading since they are the government currently, and people say, "Kane problem apa? What is going on?" And your response to that is, don't get involved in ZANU-PF messaging. Don't get in, that is for ZANU-PF members. So in other words, you're saying you are not there to lead us, the Zimbabweans, because it is your responsibility, especially for a party with structures. Remember, Taitara to Triple C was structureless. Therefore, that's why confusion was happening. We have ZANU-PF, which is a structured political party. And you're telling me you can't tell a member who is in your structures that this messaging, which is contrary to what the president of Zimbabwe is saying, "Pavari kutaura kuti ndichazorora, I'm going to rest," and then you've got a member in his own political party who shouts out slogans to say 2030 vanenge varipo, and citizens are coming through and saying there is danger here. Let's also go back. I won't take too much of your time, Dara. Let's go back in time, because it seems like we've got memory loss somewhere. Dementia inombotibata here and there. We remember what happened with our late president, Robert Gabriel Mugabe. He stayed for long. So when Zimbabweans hear that there is a situation where it may look like they would have to go through the same situation of having a president who stays too long in power, you should know with the history, especially since Murimi ZANU-PF yacho yakabvisa President Mugabe pachigaro, muchitaura kuti there were criminals around him, and you said all manner of things, and wanting a situation where you had another face as ZANU-PF. You should also be the ones to stop this kind of messaging, because that is where the problem comes in. But I haven't heard the director of ZANU-PF here attempting to even meet us halfway. If what I heard from him was deliberate kutoti ignore kutoti ndezvekwenyuzvi, in other words, that's what it's coming through, Farai, if you did not know. You speaking on the space today and hearing the concerns or things that have been said, the way you've responded to them was to say ndezvekwenyu. That's basically what you're doing, slapping us in the face. But we are coming to you nicely. Tichiti, matauriro aya haana kunaka. Gadzirisaiwo, because you keep on saying, and you've even played the recording where the president of Zimbabwe has said that I'll be resting, ndichazorora. So if there is anyone amongst you in ZANU-PF who is saying something which is contrary to what the president of Zimbabwe and the president of ZANU-PF is saying, I would have thought that you would have nipped it in the backside by now. But to my surprise, uchitoita that kind of thing yoti handezvekwenyu. So please, director of ZANU-PF, right? Represent us properly. Fix this dilemma iripo, because hazvina kumira zvakanaka. Thank you so much, Dara.
Amazing. I'll come to Miss Ula, my friend, and then come to Chris before I go back to my panelists. There's two, then I'll go back to my panelists, then I'll come back to the people on the phone.
Okay, thanks a lot, Blessed. So basically, what I understand from 2030 Tiningiti report was based on a rally in terms of the 2030 millennium goals for middle income. And when he made that remark, people took it as a vision in terms of his term in government, which will be 2030. By the time he finishes in 2028, we would have got somewhere in terms of our upper middle income brackets for Zimbabweans. This is why you're seeing a lot of activity in Zimbabwe. And if a person says to you that I endorse Zorora, it does not mean that he still wants to be president, right? He's the only person in the whole of Zimbabwe in terms of leadership, right, who's actually shown us democracy in terms of understanding where he actually can end Parano Gumira. While as most of people who are here, in terms of being in Zimbabwe political parties, have never ever resigned, right? When they have failed, they still hold on. And this man should be respected, and people should see that and actually give him that, the clap on the hands and make sure he does what he says, rather than causing confusion. So I call on to people who are here, who are actually political, to start thinking about the leadership that they need to bring in 2028 in order to beat us ZANU-PF, because it seems like you want us to stay because it makes you feel happy, so you can have more NGOs and you can actually have a bit of a ooh-ha in terms of our democracy space. But as far as we're concerned, ED is not going to be there in 2028 because his mouth has spoken, and that's what ZANU-PF will be thinking about is the future. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramai. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Dara. I just want to start by saying that I think people don't seem not to understand what democracy is all about. This is a man that said you know, when he was interviewed after the August shootings, he said to the whole world were listening, and he said, "I don't know who ordered the shootings." And then came the Montante Commission, and the correspondence on that Montante Commission showed that he had ordered it. So if we are going to trust somebody, we can't trust somebody who says one thing and then the truth is the opposite. And I want also to talk about what the director said. He said, "Oh, this is an internal thing." And make no mistake, we are not confusing an internal thing here. We know when they say that 2030 what they mean. Because if it is an internal thing, why is it not raining up on the lieutenants, for example, Owen Niwe, to say, stop what you are saying because it's against the constitution? Why is it not raining on when the youth starts chanting that, to say, no, this is against the supreme law? So for me, I think when he comes up and says he's clarifying, there is a lot of insincerity in it, in the sense that he's not addressing the very people that are around him to say, this is the direction that we need to take. We are not stupid for people to try and say he's talking about 2030 vision. We know what he's talking about. So if he was going to live anywhere like what the Constitution says, why is it an issue? That shows that he's not a constitutionalist. He's not somebody who adheres because he came through a coup. He can't be a Democrat when somebody came through a coup. So, in my view, I think every Zimbabwean, it is every Zimbabwean's duty to stop this and to stop this now. Thank you.
I thank you very much. I feel you, and I feel like you just taken this discussion to a different perspective. But I'll start with Dr. Walter Mzembe, come to Senator Monzora, then Director Marapia. Over to you, Dr. Mzembe.
Well, there isn't much more to say other than to say that the fundamental issue here is a breach of trust between the president and the people. If he meant stepping down from the office of president at national level, we all know that for one to compete at that level, coming from ZANU-PF, he has to be the president of that party. So, indicating that he's stepping down from the party can be understood on the one part to mean that he's not ascending to national office. But the pushback from the supporters, whom he should be reining in, and very senior people for that matter, a national political commissar, a former minister of national security in the Midlands, who is now provincial governor, completely going contra to what he intimated in Mutare at a national platform, not even a party platform, because I'm hearing a lot of confusion on which platform the president speaks from and pronounces ZANU-PF issues and national issues. He's clearly pronouncing himself on national platforms, not even inside ZANU-PF itself. So we expect those that are inside ZANU-PF to abide by his marching orders if those issues are pronounced at national level and they are of a constitutional nature. And it is here that we are trying to reconcile his sincerity, his integrity on the matter with what his charges and followers are saying. So it all boils down to trust and integrity, and I think he will have to work extra hard to regain that and reassert that inside our population and be taken seriously on those pronouncements. I thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Dr. Walter Mzembe was also the chairperson of Sevia Kasukuwere, the former political commissar, attempt to a presidential seat during the 2023 presidential elections. Now I'll come to you, Senator Douglas Mondola. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I think we are all patriotic Zimbabweans, and reacting the way we are reacting is not a character assassinating the president. We are doing this because of the seriousness of this issue, seriousness in terms of internal stability of Zimbabwe, and the seriousness in terms of its effect on the efforts to reintegrate Zimbabwe into the international community. Zimbabwe is under isolation, both in the Commonwealth and in the world. Zimbabwean business people do not have access to international markets, international finance, or should I say equal access. Things like this have a bearing on how the country is perceived. So you can see that we did not take this from the air, but it came from slogans not by rank and file, slogans by very high-ranking people in ZANU-PF, and a resolution by a province of ZANU-PF, the resolution by the Masvingo province, for example, and the songs that are being repeated, and after the president spoke, and I still say the president was very clear when he spoke. He spoke about the internal processes within ZANU-PF, the Congress, and then gave him 5 years, then another Congress gave him another 5 years. He is not talking to about national presidency here, and Zimbabweans are entitled to lack of ambiguity. Ambiguity is not good for Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans want something very, very clear. And then I want to reiterate that in order for those who want the president to have a third term, I want to reiterate that it can only be done in terms of a parliamentary majority of 2/3, number one, now in both houses actually. Then number two, that there will be a referendum to say extend the presidential term without mentioning the name. And then there will have to be a second referendum to then say President Mnangagwa is allowed to run. Why put Zimbabweans through all this rigmarole? Why waste all these resources for the Zimbabwean people? Why put Zimbabwe in a perpetual election mode? Because right now we must be talking about the national issues. And we in the opposition are willing to contribute to the national issues. We are even willing to help the government, assist the government in addressing unemployment, poverty, education, health, inequality, and so on and so forth. But what are we getting from the ruling party itself? It is an agenda to change the constitution to allow the president to run again. So we are not saying this out of malice. It is the responsibility of the ZANU-PF leadership to stop this. And if they had stopped it, there will be no debate. But they speak with with a double tongue. President says this in Mutare, Owen Ngube says this in the Midlands, Energy Mutoni then says that in Masvingo, and so on. So it's not idle talk. And please, we want to put this thing to an end. Zimbabwe, they have fought enough. They have had enough. They now want to deal with the issues that affect them, the bread and butter issues. And let's debate those and not be put into the situation that we are put in, where we are having to defend the constitution. Of course, some of us will want to defend the constitution because we know this is a constitution that was voted for by the people of Zimbabwe. 93% are in the referendum. That's not a small number. It is a constitution that came as a result of outreach. people of Zimbabwe spoke, and we have the data of what the people said, especially on the presidential term. And if we see the ruling party coming in and introducing this thing in some being clever by half, if I may use that term, to say no, it's the energy mtodi, then it's freedom of expression. There is no such freedom of expression where you are the ruling party. So I think that when it remains to be seen what ZANU-PF is going to do. But as Zimbabweans, we must make it clear that this is unacceptable, that this is a point of departure, that this is a deal breaker, that we are prepared to struggle against it. And I hope it won't be necessary. But I want to thank the comrades here, before I go, to thank the comrades for the very interesting debate. Comrade Marapira, Comrade Mzembi, it was nice to talk to you. Once again, Tezwara wangu. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll go to Efu before I come to Farai.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'll start with Efi and then come to Director Marapira.
Thank you, Tara. I think for Zimbabweans, it is important for us to do something that we have never done before. First, for ZANU-PF, it has never passed on power from one leader to another peacefully through a Congress while that leader is still in office. That has never happened since 1980. It is important that they do so. Very, very important. As a country also, we have never done that. It is important that we do so. This is the legacy that will live longer than extending terms of office forever. It's important that we learn a new way of doing things, passing power from one to the other peacefully, as outlined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe, and I'm sure also as outlined in the different constitutions of the political parties in Zimbabwe. Peaceful transfer of power is very important. It brings in stability. It improves the image of the country within and outside the borders of the country. It makes us also to forget about these things that are side shows. We need to forget to pay attention to what matters in this country, and that is growing this economy, and that is uniting the people of Zimbabwe behind the economy, behind the constitution, behind the values and the tenets for which so many people sacrifice their lives. I think we are getting sidelined, pushed out as the people of Zimbabwe by being kept debating things that are irrelevant. So it's important that those that are not following the discipline, if that were the case, are disciplined, so that people will know that this is the Constitution, this is what it says, and no one else is going to do anything that is contrary to the Constitution. Transfer power from one to the other peacefully. We have never done it. ZANU-PF has never done it. Zimbabwe as a country has never done it. It's time we did it. And that is where the legacy, in my view, of the president will lie. For all other things that he could have done, that people have been pointing out, this is an opportunity for him to do something that has never been done in the country, and that is to peacefully democratically transfer power in 2028. He has an opportunity to do so. I hope he is not going to miss it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words of wisdom. I turn to you, Farai Marapira, the Director of Information.
Thank you very much. I will not respond to much which has been said, which is not in relation to the topic. I will not be joining the bandwagon of digressions. But I would like to thank all who have joined us here as we have thrashed through this issue. And I hope that people have realized that much of this hullabaloo is over really nothing. It's just a smoke screen. And much of this hullabaloo is in the opposition. Within ZANU-PF, there is no hullabaloo. In ZANU-PF, We are very, very stable, very, very positive, very much proud of the achievements we are achieving under President Mnangagwa. And President Mnangagwa has been very clear on his stance on the issue of a third term. And we as NPF continue to believe in freedom of expression. And it is the proper thing for us to be not always agreeing. What we feel is abuse, we feel it's freedom. That is the nature of society, and that is the nature of being a society. We cannot always agree on everything. But as NPF, we continue to encourage freedom of speech within our structures, freedom of expression, and we also continue to follow and listen to the words of our leaders, and we encourage those in opposition not to simply focus on bashing ZANU-PF, not to focus on bashing our leader, but to focus on being progressive leaders who also contribute to the betterment of our country, so that we all build Zimbabwe as one, and we create a gem out of this beautiful country of ours. I would like to thank all that have come in to listen, and I hope now it is clear that the president has made himself clear, and everyone has heard from us the stance and the position of our leader and president. Thank you very much.
Amazing, just beautiful conversation. Zimbabweans have to talk to each other and not through each other, through each other. Now, this is Alpha Media Holding. I represent Alpha Media Holding. I just wanted people to understand that I'm not a co-host. I'm part of the Newsday. I'm part of Alpha Media Holding, and we together are bringing conversations to the people. This is very important for people to be able to provide, to be provided a space in which they are able to converse. We believe digital is the future. We provide digital solutions to digital discussions so that all of us, even when we are in spaces that we believe we are not big enough, we give you that platform to be able to exchange conversations with those in power, the ruling party, ministers, and even captains of industry. This space was proudly brought to you by Alpha Media Holdings through its Newsday title, Everyday News for Everyday People. Now I tend to silence Mnangagwa, who has been behind the Newsday page, to just give us the closing remarks. I did hope that our editor-in-chief, Kolwani Nyati, would be able to talk to us this evening and give us the direction in terms of our content pillars, our beliefs as a group, and how we value the readers, how we value our viewers, how we value the people who interact with our products. We believe everyone must be heard. Trevor Ngwe, our chairman, always says, come as you are. No matter where you come from, no matter what your background, you will be afforded an opportunity to be listened to. But our hero of the day, our hero of most of our spaces, is Julia Nglela. Amazing. Conversations to
right,
you.
so this is the position, this is the discussion which was between the comrades Walter Mzimbi, Douglas Manzora, the ZANU-PF Director of Information, Arema Rapira, and other comrades, and they came, they expressed themselves.
Indeed, thank you, Blessed. Just let our listeners know that we're bringing 8 spaces every Tuesday and Thursday, discussing various topics. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our listeners and our panelists. As of now, it's
so I think this issue was charged by people who are experts, people who actually understand how these things work, people who have been there in governance, and prominent people as well. So this is the discussion which we brought. Key takeaways, the issue ZANU-PF is not coming forth in terms of clarifying the position of President Mnangagwa going 2030. And also what Director Mrapira has missed in this whole discussion is something very simple. Mamisha, most probably, and in other peri-urban areas, people are being forced, people are being frog-mined to vote for ZANU-PF. That is the problem which we have. As long as people are being frog-mined to support ZANU-PF, then we cannot talk about constitutionalism, we cannot talk about democracy, because democracy must allow me to vote for whoever I want. Democracy must allow me to support whoever I want. And as long as things are being I hope and believe that we'll be able to deal with this issue and understand what is really happening.